Mr. Nimetz, hello, and thank you for this interview. Over the last days, you hold talks with Fyrom's political leadership. After these meetings, Foreign Minister Dimitrov raised identity issues, saying that no one can deprive us of the right to be Macedonians and speak the Macedonian language. Should we assume that there is no common ground regarding nationality and identity issues between the two governments?
I think the issue of identity in your northern neighbor is a very important one to them. And they see any solution here as one that won't change or harm their sense of themselves. Every nation, every people has a sense of identity, and disturbing that would be very difficult for anyone to accept. The issues, though, in our negotiation have to do with the name of the state. The name of the state should not, a solution to this issue of the name of the state should not affect the identity of peoples. And I believe a solution is possible that would be satisfactory in both countries.
Mm-hmm. What were the first reactions regarding the Greek proposal for the drafting of a joint document between the two countries?
Well, we're all working together to achieve a result. And as you know, I've presented a proposal in schematic form, in writing, to the parties. And how we work out the final agreements and actions in the United Nations is a matter for the two sides to work out. I think Foreign Minister Kotsias has been very positive in his approach to these negotiations. He has a deep interest in settling this, and he is making efforts to contribute in a very important way.
Prime Minister Zaev insists that his country plans to hold a referendum over the name dispute so as to safeguard, to guarantee the sustainability of any solution. Do you think that would help the negotiations?
So the issue of a referendum in your northern neighbor, to me, is an issue for them to decide. They have processes, parliamentary processes. They have their own political tradition. And there has been discussion of a referendum for many, many years under different governments. How they decide on the process for approving an agreement and ratifying an agreement is an issue really for them to decide.
Mm-hmm. Regarding the name as such, are all 5 proposals still on the table? There are, some leaks that Greek government opts for Gorna Macedonia, whereas Fyrom opts for Nova Macedonia.
Yeah, I read those leaks and those comments in my discussions in both Athens and Skopje. Leadership are still discussing the issue of the modifier that would be best. In my proposal, I suggested it's true, 5 possibilities. I also said these 5 were not exclusive, that the parties could have other ideas. So it was not my attempt to restrict the parties from thinking of other possibilities.
However, the biggest thorn is not the name as such, only the name as such, but some subsidiary aspects such as the scope of the usage of the name or some irredentist references in Fyrom's constitution. Given the fact that Mr. Zaev holds a slim majority in the parliament, how feasible is a constitutional review?
It's not such an easy question. And there are subsidiary aspects, and the subsidiary aspects are important in their own right, how it's used, when it's used, the other aspects. But there's really goodwill on both sides on these issues. We've talked about these for many years, and I want to emphasize that we have 2 governments now that are sincerely working constructively to find solutions. Constitutional issues, again, This is something that is a methodology of how one approves and adopts, or whether legal rules, and this is for the countries involved. As a United Nations mediator, it's not my business to tell Greek leaders how their constitution, how their parliament works, and I don't go up to Skopje and tell them how their constitution works and how they need to do things. This is internal methodology for approving agreements.
Mm-hmm. Can you outline a framework regarding the next phase of negotiations? Mm-hmm. I mean, what comes next? And do we have enough time to overcome the obstacles till the EU-NATO summit in July?
Well, we don't have a deadline. We don't have a strict deadline. I can't impose a deadline. I'm a mediator. And neither party can say an ultimatum to the others, decide this by a certain date or we're finished. And they're not doing this. However, I truly believe that we have a window of opportunity here. I think that both sides recognize that this is a very good time to solve the issue.
However, there is internal political rift in both countries. Mm-hmm. On the one hand side, we have Tsipras Kamenos. On the other hand side, we have Zaev and the VMRO party. Mm-hmm. Do you think that political realism will prevail at the end?
Mm-hmm. There may be different points of view in various parties and in different elements of the society. And this is necessary in a democracy. So it's for the political leadership to work this out. And in both cases on this trip, both in Athens and in Skopje, I met with the leading opposition parties, explained what we were doing, and urged them to be constructive. I can't tell political leaders what they should do, but I can urge them to be constructive. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let us take the worst case scenario, that there's going to be a wreck on the negotiations. Mm-hmm. What are your worst fears for the future?
Yeah. I don't think time is in our favor on this issue. Situations change, governments change. We don't know what a government in Greece will be like a couple of years from now. We don't know what governments might come in Skopje. We don't know the objective situation in the region. There are many things that can happen that would make it more difficult in the future to settle this problem. So we don't know what happens in the future. And a division between these two neighbors can only raise concerns.
Mr. Nimetz, thank you very much for this interview, for giving us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.